Oh, all right, it begins and it ends with me. Yeah! You know these things. You go to all these self-help programs, you read the book, you write the books, for goodness sakes. But you don't practice what you preach. Once I realized this, I was ready to listen to the voices of others. And so I scaled down my own wall. No hairy robe, no Prince Charming, no fancy-dancy wedding, just plain old Pansy, ready to face the world. So, what about you? Well, what about me? Are you ready to scale down your wall of fear? Because I'm out of here. I'm going mountain climbing. But wait, I don't know how. Those fairy tales have got it all backwards. And those tales, some man falls madly in love with you, and then everything changes. And so you start to love yourself, and you lose all this weight, and you look like this runway model, and you live happily ever after. Not I. No, not I. What you see is what you get. I had to work darn hard to get where I was. I had to be brutally honest with myself before I could look myself in the mirror and like what I saw. Now you take this mirror, and you tell me what you see. I see an older me than I'm comfortable with. I see wrinkles and scars. Oh, lass, you're not looking hard enough. Look with your heart. Look deep into your eyes and tell me what you see. I see. I can't. Oh, lass, it's okay. Now you keep that mirror. And every day you keep looking and loving. And if you forget, then give yourself a break. Go out and get a donut and appreciate the missing hole. That's W-H-O-L-E. You know, it's been 5 years since I returned from India. And I have to say it was one of the most extraordinary experiences I've ever had. It was one of the best gifts I've ever given myself. There were so many awakenings, so many rich and wonderful experiences. In fact, to mention them here just wouldn't do them justice. And the interesting thing is when I left India, I didn't have the same feeling about the people there. There wasn't that grief and sadness. You see, what I realized is that while they have material poverty, they had joy and spiritual abundance. I remember Mother Theresa saying that in America, we have all the wealth in the world, but we're spiritually empty. And they had that. Now, I'd like to tell you I did a 180-degree turnaround. Not true. Really, everything changed, and yet nothing did. For about a week, Type A Theresa did take off her speed walking shoes. For about a week. But really everything changed and nothing did. I went back to the same square peg in the round hole job. I did take a 10-day silent meditation retreat. 12 hours a day of meditation in here. Thanks a lot, Punzi. And now I do teach meditation classes. I stopped being super mom most of the time. And now I bake because I want to, because it feels good. I gave up the board of directors and the social committee. I'm sleeping better. And I'm starting to give to myself, not just to everybody else. Not every day, but when I have courage, I grab a mirror like I used to with my darling Bernadette. Some days are harder than others. Some days I don't feel a day over 29 and I see this 59-year-old staring back at me. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Little by little, I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to trust myself more and more. And I can feel it. I'm starting to say yes. And my heart is opening. At the the beginning it felt like a construction site, you know, like I had to jackhammer the hardened outer shell and pry it open with a crowbar. Not so much anymore. I know that eventually I'm going to fall deeply in love with that woman I see staring back at me. That is my commitment to myself, to my darling daughter Bernadette, and to each of you whose souls I see reflected back to me in the mirror of my life. I was a producer in Nightingale Conan Corporation, and one of our authors, Ron Roth, had been to see India to see Bhagwan and do this deepening process. And then I kept hearing about it from all these people, and he sent his staff, and he was an ex-Catholic priest. And it wasn't about religion, it was people just growing deeper. And one year I kept hearing about it several times, and my daughter was going through some challenges, and I was going through how do I support her. And when I meditated on it, I heard the best thing I can do is work on me. So my boss, her daughter, had had a similar experience, Myra, and I got a special permission. It was over Christmas. It was very hard. But I said to Bernadette, how would you feel if Mommy left and was gone for Christmas? And she said, Mommy, if it helps. And I had written letters to her every day that she had waiting to open, and I tried to contact her every week by phone, but half the time she wasn't there. But it was hard. But I think ultimately she saw the shift thereafter, and so it was a sacrifice I think she was glad she took.
How old was she?
She was 11. She was 11. She's now 17. She usually does my sound. She's supposed to be here doing my sound, but we had issues with a flight, or else she'd be here. So she's been my support and my love. Any other questions? No? Yes?
How old were you when you went?
Too old. I had my daughter when I was 40, so I was 51. I was 51. Yeah, yeah. But there are people from all different religions all over the world. There was translators there. That was a very interesting place to be. And they didn't try and contact you after. There was none of that culty stuff. It was just kind of teaching their thing and go off and do whatever. So it was very interesting. Yes?
By going there, do you feel that you really helped yourself?
Yes, I do. My life shifted in a very big way. And I don't have it all figured out. Oh my God, I got my list. But I do feel I'm able to quiet my mind better. And I'm also able to touch that causeless joy at times and just kind of feel, often it's music for me, right? It's color, it's music. There's certain things that spark that lightness of being. So I think it has helped. Mm-hmm.
Do you meditate still?
I do. I do for a while, especially after this 12-hour retreat, 12 hours a day meditating with Vipassana. I'm a writer for a magazine, Conscious Community in the Midwest. And one day after all this years of work, man I was interviewing said, you're a mess. Your chakras are all out of balance and you need to do Vipassana meditation. I went, what's that? 10 days. You have to give 10 days of silence and in meditation. And so we were 10 days and it was 12 hours a day meditating, getting up at 4 in the morning. The silence was easy. And the silence was because in Buddhism, the 5 noble truths, you can't lie. And often as soon as we open our mouths, we lie, right? Or exaggerate. So this is why by keeping our mouths quiet. The hard thing was 12 hours sitting with this. And of course, I was going through menopause. So you could be silent still, and these little beads are dripping down my nose, and I'm going. So it was a journey. It's all a big journey. Any other questions? Well, thank you all for coming out. Yes?
I was in India. I never got used to the heat. Did you?
I went in December, January. So I didn't go in the really hot time. It wasn't bad. And given that I'm now living in Chicago and was born in Toronto, and right now there's a huge blizzard and my car is covered with about 5 inches of snow. So I didn't, but you probably went in the summer perhaps? April, yeah, you got a lot more of the heat. I kind of went, I cheated, went at an easier time. Anybody else? Yes?
Were there other options on the table of finding that peace within? I mean, it just seems like such a long journey.
It was.
Nothing local?
There's groups, actually, there's an LA group, it's called Oneness University, and like I said, it's not a religion, they don't try and, there are groups locally, and they do give dikshas. It keeps changing because life keeps changing. And we all have our own paths, right? We all find our way in different ways. I just kept hearing about it. You know when you keep hearing it after 3 or 4, you're like, okay, universe, I get it. I'm supposed to go. And I always planned someday. I just didn't know someday was going to be then. But my daughter was going through some pretty heavy stuff, and I was like, what now? I've got to do something. But we all have our own way. Any other questions?
What city was that beautiful?
Chennai.
Chennai.
Southern India. And that was all, the India stuff was all true, right from the guy at the side of the road and 8 lines of traffic. That was, it was all very true.